guys! Try teamwork!
I've got him! Ah! No, he's got me.
Way to block my line of sight, idiot.
No! Okay, let's just think about what went wrong there, people, shall we?
It was him, rushing in like a maniac.
But what? I'm a warrior. I war. Whatever.
Oh, brave Sir Knight, you saved us all.
I say forget you guys. I'm out of here.
Everyone, stay very still.
All right. Now this time, people, focus.
Cowabunga it is. Hey, are you looking to scratch that Dungeons and Dragons itch while waiting for your next session?
There's the keyword.
While Solasta, the Crown of the Magister, is here to relieve that uncomfortable irritation. Hello and welcome, heroes, to the Crit Academy. I am your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Ian.
I'm your co-host, Brandon.
Thanks for joining us again, Brandon.
Hi. Don't get COVID.
Yeah, right. It's terrible. Here on Crit Academy, we hope to inspire you with new and creative content that you can bring with you on your next adventure. Today's topic is the Solasta, the Crown of the Magister game, which is awesome. If you don't know what that is, Solasta, the Crown of Magister is a tactical. I want to make sure that that's clear.
Yeah.
A tactical, time-based, turn-based RPG developed and published by Tactical Adventures that is based on the 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons SRD rule set.
Note the SRD part.
Yes. The reason that matters is because there's some monsters that you won't find in this that you will find in Baldur's Gate, for instance. And settings and locations and all that stuff.
And archetypes and feats and a whole lots of other things.
Yep, you only get the SRD stuff, so they had to make their own, which I think came out really great. What I think is awesome
That part is worth it, yeah.
is I hope that you guys are just ready to roll initiative, take attacks of opportunity, manage your location, and specialize in verticality combat because they really did a good job with that.
And actually remember to bring food with you.
Oh, yes, we're going to touch on that too because that was one of my favorite changes that they made. So, Brandon, what can you tell our audience about Solasta?
It's a game. It's awesome. I haven't played it yet, but I'm gonna.
The final script.
Crown of the Magister brings back the thrill, tactics, and deep storytelling of tabletop games. As you play, you'll feel yourself for your dice and miniatures. It's time to dive into the world of Solasta. Now roll for initiative. Now, when you say this is a tactical game, is that like in the form of Final Fantasy Tactics?
No,
wait, yes.
Tactics, yes, but it's like playing D&D on a grid.
Yep.
It's hardcore stuff. So let's get everyone started with some details of Solasta before we start giving our opinions. Because today we are going to compare the two. We're going to compare what Solasta does really good and how it correlates to 5th edition and some deviations that they've made, whether we like them, whether we don't.
Some are understandable, some
not so much.
But that's going to be true of any video game adaptation, especially when they're not working with the full rule set.
Of course.
But basically, like any other game, roll for initiative, take up attacks, manage to play locations, and definitely cover the verticality of the battlefield.
Yeah. In Crown of Solasta, you set yourself up for finishing strikes and possibly roll a natural 20 at a key moment, which has saved me so many times from death, which, I don't know about you, happened to me a lot. I died a lot. I suck. You think I'd be better at D&D. I'm not, apparently. I suck at it. In Solasta, you take control of 4 heroes all at once, each with unique skills that kind of complement each other, which you get to totally customize yourself, which is cool.
You can either do point buy or you can roll for stats.
Yeah, and I think that that's really good with the character creation.
Yeah.
I would love to see you roll a shit character.
I did. I rolled a fighter with high dex and crappy strength because I decided I was going to go into it randomly. It was a terrible idea. I don't recommend that because part of the benefit of having weaker characters is the roleplay that comes from it, not in a tactical RPG.
Okay. I ended up running a paladin, cleric, rogue, and a wizard.
Try to cover all your bases. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Brandon, you want to touch on that
We're not
last?
even 5 minutes in. I really want to play this.
Yeah, dude, it's good. I'm telling you.
Every hero expresses themselves in the adventure, making each action and dialogue choice a dynamic part of the story. You get to choose your dialogue.
Yes.
Yeah, to a degree, yeah.
Players will create their heroes just as they would in a pen and paper game by choosing their race, class, personality, and rolling for their stats.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things that Solasta, I think, does really well. We're going to go more into this, but since we're talking about character creation,
Yep.
I think character creation is really cool, and I think it's well done. Their options that they've implemented are really unique and fun, especially the way they tie in how your character's voice gets picked.
Yep.
Based on these different options you choose, which is pretty cool. Until one of the other NPCs you pick has the same voice.
Now, it is worth mentioning, though, that you unfortunately do not have the option to choose every class in the game.
Right.
You don't have every race to choose from, and because there's less sub-races or archetypes, you have less of those to choose from as well. But I only mention that up front just so people temper their expectations going in.
Do you have the DLC that came out or no?
I purchased some of the DLC.
Okay. So they do have DLC, so it is worth knowing they are coming out with more content.
Yeah.
Which is exciting.
Like the
Lost Valley, I think, was the most recent one, maybe?
Yeah, the 4 main DLCs, I believe when I last checked, there was only 4 DLCs. One's the soundtrack, one's actually with an extra dice pack. One is basically a full new campaign that includes new archetypes and spells.
Really good ones, too.
The last one in particular I want to mention, though, I want to see it costs about like, what, $5-7? But basically, it allowed you to introduce the Barbarian and the Druid as playable classes.
Yes. I think they managed to do that before Baldur's Gate, too.
Yeah.
Which is one of my gripes with Baldur's Gate 3, which we'll talk about.
So far,
right?
Still in beta.
Yes, it is. But so laying it out, we stressed that this was tactical.
Yep.
While you do get dialogue options, that is based on skills you have and race and class. I think that's really cool because you basically are picking who's going to respond, right?
Sort of. In the sense of, like, yes, you can pick, but it can tell you, okay, here's the deception guy, here's the diplomat guy. It tells you if they're the ones with the highest stat, they're the ones who's going to make that roll.
Yep. Which I think is really well done.
Now,
and they do make it very clear during the tutorial that if you give your entire party orders and have them do a skill check of some kind, they're going to have the person with the highest stat make their roll.
Which I think is a way you should be running your tabletop game, because nobody likes everyone all rolling. Oh, Billy, the arcane wizard with the high arcana and proficiency and expertise failed. I'm the rogue. I have no idea what magic is, but I'm going to try anyway. I'm not a fan of that.
Although it is worth mentioning, though, that each character can only make a skill check once, which is kind of actually annoying at times.
Yeah, like picking locks.
Picking locks.
I knew where he was going with that. Sorry, you didn't open it. You don't get to go.
Imagine a rogue doing the Arcana check. I don't know anything. It's like, it tastes like a battery.
That's great. All right, so now that we're done ragging on it, what the game does, it does really well. It's worth noting that this was a Kickstarted game.
Yes.
And those are risky ventures, right?
I was going to ask about that.
So they nailed it.
Partnered with WotC or anything?
No, that's why it's the SRD. Baldur's Gate's partnered with Wizards of the Coast because it's Baldur's Gate.
Yep.
So, what does Solasta do right, Ian?
Well, it does quite a few things right. And as we already established, it pulls from the SRD, the subclasses that are there, but because not all the subclasses are there, they had to make some of their own. So one of the examples for that is, as we already touched on it, you can be a Mage Bane Barbarian who hates,
which is awesome,
magic and their users. Or you could delve into the Cleric Insight domain to focus on learning, memory, and deductive skills. So even though you may not have all of the original SRD options, they do fill in the gaps in ways I think are interesting, including the Feats.
Yes.
Because, even though they can't pull from the Feats from 5th edition, I do think they did a relatively good job of coming up with their own.
Yeah, I agree.
And more feels like, I wish this actually wasn't 5e.
Which is how you know they did good game design.
Yeah. Same with some of the archetypes.
Yeah.
Like I chose the fire archetype for the paladin, for example, who can learn fireball.
I missed that detail. I didn't play any of the paladins though, because I took cleric because cleric's superior in every capacity.
Well, I ended up taking. I also chose like the Shadow Rogue, who can basically teleport 5 feet.
I like that. So now you mentioned classes.
Yep.
So our favorite one of my favorites is the fighter, and they really, I think they managed to knock it out of the park. And we're actually going to go into detail on the fighter commander subclass. If that sounds familiar, it's not exactly what you're thinking. If anything, it's very close to our warlord, in that it focuses around shouts, which I think is really, really cool.
You know, in hindsight, since I pushed the DLC, I probably should have threw in a barbarian or druid for preview purposes.
I have not tried multiplayer, but it comes with multiplayer.
It was added, recently, yes.
Oh man, I think it's 4-player multiplayer.
Yep.
And that's so awesome. The one thing that really interests me is the class designs, and I think that's where we need to focus on is the combat and the class designs. What do you want to say? So we're going to talk about the commander, because multiplayer is awesome.
Yep.
That's really cool. I've only watched the videos, what I've learned of it, because I don't have time to sit and wait for friends to be online. But
I mean, I work third shift and you don't.
yeah,
so.
right. So Brandon, do you want to delve us into the commander fighter archetype? And remember, Ian already touched on the fact that they did some really, really good work designing all of the subclasses, but you do have the SRD ones, which is like the champion fighter, and the whatever some other ones are.
I mean, they
Berserker.
did change the names of them a little bit here and there.
Berserker,
but hey.
Barbarian. Do you want to touch on the commander for us,
fighter.
Brandon?
All right, the commander fighter archetype. On the battlefield, victory is achieved through discipline and rigorous training and audacity.
Celesta commanders.
Celestian commanders can often be seen leading the charges while bolstering their allies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, just like, go ahead.
No,
you keep going. Like I think you're gonna say something. So just like D&D, the tabletop or
still on a blog somewhat.
The tabletop, you're going to get your subclass picked at level 3 for fighters.
Yep.
So since we're going for a commander, Ian, what do you think some of the abilities that they come up with are for proficiencies?
Well, first off, they gain bonus proficiencies in intimidation and insight, and I actually do like how they highlight the insight and the dialogue options.
How so?
Well, in the sense of like when you're talking with somebody in sessions, they'll roll insight, and if you succeed, it gives you additional dialogue options to choose from.
That's awesome.
It's really funny having a proficiency in insight and intimidation. As well as one. I know you're lying to me.
Yeah, it didn't take a rocket start very quickly. If you try to intimidate somebody and you fail, they hate you. Go figure.
So,
but they also gain rousing shout. They can use their bonus action to give all allies within 15 feet, including yourself, advantage on their next attack roll until the start of their next turn, and can be used a number of times equal to their proficiency modifier per short rest.
That is cool.
And I do stress the short rest part.
Oh, that's really important too. We're gonna have to touch on the rest.
Yeah,
I really like how they do it. I don't know if you agree. I think it's handled.
I think in video game form, I understand the direction they went.
Yeah. So right out the gate, what do you think about the rousing shout? The fact that a number of times equal to their proficiency modifier, they can grant all their allies within 15 feet advantage on their attack roll.
Yep. Hey, Rogue, have fun.
Yeah, that's a good start.
That sounds pretty badass. That's not OP, is it?
I don't think so. It's got limited use. And most people can find a way to get advantage anyway. So, but the fact that it's a core mechanic right out the gate when you get it is pretty cool.
Actually, with the rogue, I also switch back and forth between the short bow and having them dual wield the short sword and the dagger.
Mm-hmm.
Just crit fish mostly.
Yeah. Crit fishing is one of my favorite games.
Well, not necessarily crit fish as much as make sure that one attack gets through to use a backstab. But yeah.
What the fuck is crit fishing?
Where you build characters or try to optimize your play to get as many rules as possible to try to get a crit. The champion fighter is a crit fisher, right?
Crit fishing?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So at level, and you get that at level 3, and then of course you're going to get all the original fighter mechanics, extra attack, and extra feats.
It's amazing. I'm not gonna lie. When I got extra attack for my paladin, it felt great.
Yeah, and it's It is pretty awesome.
Like it's like I knew that intellectually already because I played plenty of D&D, but to actually get it in the PC game.
The one thing that I like that they did is sometimes when your characters take attack actions, they look a little different.
Yeah.
They're not always exactly the same, though. I think it might only be like 2 or 3 different varieties, but
Yeah, and I do think they at least tried to make the spell incantations at least match the spell too.
yes, which is awesome. We're just like our words of power. I felt magical casting a spell.
Yep.
All right, so at 7th level, you get coordinated defense. I think this is an amazing mechanic for a fighter. When you take the attack action, you can forego one of your attacks to grant an ally within 15 feet the dodge action until the start of their next turn.
Yeah.
Do you know what I love about this?
It actually makes some team players.
Yes, and unless I'm misunderstanding it, it doesn't force them to use their reaction.
Nope.
It's just a benefit that they get. So you can forego your attack to significantly boost the defense of a single creature near you.
Yep.
That's awesome. So the cleric or the healer, you stand right next to me all the time. And I thought that was really cool. So already we're really seeing how this is a commander character, how it's really building up the support roles for the game. Brandon, what is the 10th level mechanic that they get?
Level 10, Invigorating Shout. Rousing Shout's range increases from 3 to 6 cells. I love hearing that. Cells, because it's the grid.
Like the monster?
No, not like the monster.
Oh.
Allies affected by Rousing Shout now also gain temporary hit points equal to your level for 1 minute.
Keep in mind you get that at level 10. That's 10 right there.
So there's one inconsistency that drives me bonkers. And we just touched on it.
Measuring movement?
Yes. They use...
Or more accurately, measuring distance.
Yeah, they use cells and feet sometimes.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's just an oversight.
It could be.
But yeah, so I don't mind the cells or the feet, but pick one.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I mentioned the measuring distance is I feel like a lot of people, whether they realize this or not, one of my quips is when you do like area effects spells, it draws them out in circles, which I think a lot of people default to by default, but it makes no sense when you think about it. They should be doing it in squares. Like when you move, like walk diagonally, for example, you move 6 squares. But when you draw diagonally from like a spell area effect, it's only 3 squares you move diagonally. It's like, but that's not how it's supposed to measure spells. Yeah.
And once again, I think that's probably just a design choice of whoever's running the game, right?
Right, but I'm sure you get where I'm coming from when I say that too.
Sure.
Right.
So we've talked about the core abilities of this fighter, and I think this is a really well designed fighter. Yeah. The mechanics are very well balanced between offense and support.
Yeah. My point though is if you're measuring the squares, double down on it.
Make sure you just stick to it.
Yeah. Now if you're doing actual measurements and actual distances, okay.
Yeah, but now in Solasta, that's specifically one of the faults that you're talking about, right?
I'm just saying that's one interpretation they decided to go with. I just think it's worth mentioning. I'm not saying it's game breaking by any means. That's just something you need to account for. But anyway.
So, now that we've kind of talked about one of the class archetypes and how they're designed, which I think is really, really good, and really balanced. So kudos to the Tactical Adventures team. I would just like you to know, if any of the Tactical Adventure teams are watching this, we do design mechanics and would be happy to help supply you with tactical advantages on high quality subclasses. You're welcome. Anyways, not fishing for work or anything, right? What?
When your dice bag jiggles, does that dice ever fall out?
Then there's no logos on me or promos or anything. All right, but I want to get into it. So we talked about one of the classes. Yep. We have to talk about combat and how amazing they've done with climbing and verticality and light. Oh my God, I have died because of light so many times.
Is it like field of vision type thing?
Yeah. Yes. Because you have a disadvantage. So many people play dark dim in dim light in total darkness. They do it wrong almost all the time. And when you're used to doing it wrong, it really kicks you in the butt when you're doing it right.
Yeah, like the one plus/minus at the same time. I started playing this at first, like, oh yeah, that roll is raw, isn't it?
Yeah, and,
This is how it's supposed to work, isn't it?
and most tables do it wrong.
Yep.
And dark vision, for example, you still have to abide by the dim and dark rules.
Yep. Yeah, I had one of the first things I did when my was hit level 4 was took the light spell so I could cast out the paladin's armor.
Yep,
so
I put on the shield, right? Yeah.
So they can say Jack.
Yeah.
I didn't cast on the shield though because sometimes I switch to a broadsword, so I let them be putting the shield away. Therefore,
That's kicked my butt, and I did not have the forethought of that.
Wait, it gives you the option to in this game to cast light on specific objects.
Yes.
Yes.
Does that also apply to like heat metal?
If it had heat metal.
If you have it, I haven't played the druid yet, so
That's kind of cool.
Is heat metal in this game?
I don't know. Haven't played a druid. It's
Okay.
that, so I don't know. But you touch on that. So targeting, with climbing and light being so complex, there are so many things you can use firebolt to light up to create temporary sources of light.
Yep.
Which is awesome, and the game encourages you to do that quite a bit, actually.
Yep. Now I'm thinking about all the times where I shot a flying wizard in the air, which would then lose concentration, and then
They fall.
20 feet and take full damage. And I kept doing it to the same guy over and over again in the same fight. It's like, this is funny!
Especially keeps casting it, huh? So I think that which is interesting is I use torches and light spells way more in Solasta than I ever do at a tabletop.
Yeah.
Because most people do the rules wrong.
Or just don't care.
Or just don't care. And, that's fine. Dark vision doesn't mean you can see everything clearly to attack. Sorry.
Yep.
But people do.
Was more perception, but yeah.
Well, whatever. The other thing I want to talk about is how beautiful the game looks.
Destiny, I just mentioned that, actually.
And has anybody played? You guys played Zelda before?
Yeah.
There are so many puzzles.
Yep.
There are so many puzzles. And, I've played through the starting areas many times, and I miss things because I have a character who doesn't have a skill in something.
Yep.
And I just walk past it. Oh, there's this... Knock on... Was this broken wall here before? Because it rolls passive perceptions and stuff on its own.
Yep.
So you either see it or you don't.
Yeah, although, to be fair, I think there are times where they might add stuff in after the fact. Because there was
You think
that one...
so?
Well, because... I'm just guessing, mind you. Because, for example, there's one enemy camp you go to early on in the game, and then when that side quest you take later on is explore this camp more thoroughly to find artifacts from this one race. And then I found the secret passage there. And I'm like, was this even here before?
Yeah,
when I went through the first time?
But that's the thing. I'm wondering if anybody from Tactical Adventures is watching. Let us know, because that's interesting. Did you pass it and fail the passive check? Or did it appear after you got the quest?
Yeah.
That's fascinating, and I kind of don't want to know the answer.
Oh, for puzzle battles, it is worth mentioning that occasionally there are some area effects you can trigger, falling stalactites on enemies.
Yeah, and some of that makes a big difference on how long a battle lasts.
Yeah.
which
I think is really fun.
So does 𝗕𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃.
So Brandon, are your dice trembling with excitement yet?
They are.
They are?
Make
sure your mic's in front of your mouth too for me.
You can hear me, right? How about now? Yes, I'm so excited for Solasta. I want to go home and download it. Does it cost anything?
Yeah, it's a game.
It's
There's a lot of free-to-play shit, so I don't know.
Well, we're glad it's not a freemium game, because only Path of Exile has done that perfectly. Anyways, so there's a few other things I want to touch on that I think are really great. And one of the big ones is overland travel.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning too that it does allow you to go into the in-game options and adjust what triggers and what doesn't trigger.
Yes, that's cool. I didn't go in and change anything because I like the way they do it. But
one thing I'm debating whether to change or not though is whether to trigger the long rest options every time you rest overnight.
Oh, where it pops up and you can change prepping and stuff?
Yeah, your prep spell slots, because by default it doesn't do that. That's just something worth mentioning.
Yeah, you're right. Right.
That seems important.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, especially when you're going somewhere important. So overland travel, the form of the long distance travel takes in Solasta is honestly one of my favorite mechanics. Because it uses a map to kind of represent travel as a clock kind of ticks away to represent time. which I think is really cool. And based on your skills of your characters, you randomly just find loot or encounters or dungeons
Or food.
or food. We're gonna get to that. While some people won't like this, and I can understand loving the open world thing.
I think you can turn some of the things off though once again.
Yeah, but there's no open world exploration. It's
No,
still
no.
traveling along the map. So while some people won't like this, I'd like to think it's perfect for a game that isn't all open world, right?
Yeah.
Because choosing the traveling pace really does affect a lot of different things that happen in this game,
It does.
which I think is pretty interesting because you don't do that in 5e normally at the tabletop.
But
We're traveling slow. Does anybody actually pay attention to that? Do you even know what it does?
I mean, to be fair, the rules are there. It's just no one uses them.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Those are things that get overlooked. When was the last time, Brandon, you've run a game where, okay, we're traveling at slow pace, we're traveling at fast pace, we're traveling at normal pace, and when does it ever become a big deal in your game? Go ahead and say it.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, I got a system in place for overland travel.
Yeah. In Solasta, it affects a lot of things, from gathering resources, how easy you are to ambush,
Yep.
the discoveries you can make of new potential dungeons to crawl.
Potentially, well, how exhausted your characters might end up being.
Yes, rushing a long distance will mess your characters up if you don't have all the appropriate, the checks that come in place with that, as well as the necessary foods. Though something that the game does, and I've used this as a DM tip before on the show because I loved it so much. Rations. How often do you guys use rations?
Never.
Every time they go on a journey.
You do?
Yeah.
And you track it?
I make sure of that shit. It's like, okay, so you guys are going to be walking up. That's 3 hexes. It's going to take you 3 days. Like, okay, let's go. Like, all right.
You ran out of food.
So after your first day, I need you all to give me some con saves because none of you bought rations. None of you got a horse. None of you took water. And like, oh shit. Like, yeah, exactly. Come on.
We're in the middle of nowhere. Now we realize it. I love it.
Although worth noting, that's something that's good to cover during session 0.
Yeah, that's true. And if they're not paying attention, which most of the time they're not.
Yeah.
So kudos to Brandon for doing that. I don't do that though. We did cover the hex crawl episode that really touched on some of this stuff too.
I like that episode.
But anyways, you have to have rations. No rations, no short rests, no long rests. Your characters just suffer. And that's something that's so easy to overlook. And it's nice to see that they included that during through the process of their game, and that was the approach that they took. This means things like rangers really get to shine.
Yes.
Which I think is important.
Yep, because rangers automatically find food in certain areas. And actually, one setting they have in there too is if you have a druid that can cast 𝗿𝗏𝗰𝗂𝗃, you can set it to at the end of a day for them to automatically cast it.
So you just always have food.
Yep.
And once again, that's something that I think is really cool about Solasta, because Rangers really do kind of get the shaft in 5th edition right now. I think Wizards is finally realizing that, is making some adjustments. Though I don't really know that they need those adjustments. I just think DMs need to pay more attention to what their players are running. Because if a player chooses a Ranger that their favorite terrain is forest, you better damn well tell them it's going to be in a desert. So to maybe not pick forest as their favorite terrain.
Yeah.
What about create food and water? Do clerics get that in Solasta?
Yes.
Yes, they do. That is part of the SRD, and it's in there. And that's just another benefit of having those spells prepared.
Alchemy.
And it does automatically cast it once again at the end of a long rest if you have the slots available.
But you still have to have the slots available, and you have to have that spell prepared.
Yes.
Now, that doesn't seem like a big deal. Oh, they can just create. But that's one less spell that they have for spell in their prepared list that they have available.
Now, if you know you're mostly going to do overland traveling, you can prep it.
You can prep it first, yeah.
And then switch it back before you go to the next dungeon as you get there. But
a little bit of micromanaging, so that's
Yeah.
awesome. Forgot my rations, fail safe.
Yeah.
The simple travel allows us a really high level view of the characters' personas, which I think is really nice.
Yep.
On the left side of the screen, there's literally a journal, and they're like 1 or 2 sentences long, but those 1 or 2 sentences give a lot of information. Your character is whittling away a druidic statue, or this person is telling jokes, or this person, fell in a mud pit when they're scavenging for food,
That's messed up.
or you guys encounter a traveling merchant and have a conversation.
Yeah, and that's all it says.
Yep.
That's all it needs to say.
Or so and so sharpens their weapons. Well,
Yeah, right? So this person's, maintaining their weapons. That's a high level personality trait that comes across.
We've done that once.
I used the druid to call animals for food. Yeah, that's not uncommon. Yeah. I'm not a fast food restaurant, you guys. I've told you this.
Hey there, friend.
I don't do
Come here for a
delivery.
second. I got something I want to show you behind this rock.
Anybody in the boys, what's his name, has to eat a squid that talks to him. So
Yeah, because he can talk to animals.
Yeah.
It was worth to eat a squid. Yeah.
Yeah, that's horrible. So, anyways, so overall, I really think that they found a really good way to make a dungeon crawl feel a really expanded world with overworld travel.
Yep.
Is there anything on that you wanted to touch about that I might have missed?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's handled overall well. But like I said before the show started, there was one of a few things I think they could handle a little bit better. Like, you have to manually change it in the options where you can adjust your settings and to have long rest options pop up, such as spell prep.
Okay.
And I kind of wish there was just a menu option saying, "Hey, next time I long rest, do this."
Yeah, I agree.
And for some strange reason too, and I could just be doing it wrong, but every time I tried to pull up item menus to adjust equipment, it was all grayed out every time I pulled it up when traveling. I'm like, why?
Yeah, that is weird. I don't get that.
I'm like, why?
So that's some of the things that I think Solasta does
Yeah.
really, really well. Once again, I want to make the comparison to Baldur's Gate because these are the two big 5th edition games, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah. It also has crafting.
Yes. Let's talk about that really quick.
Yep.
So, crafting potions, I think, and items in general, I think they did a really nice job.
Yep.
Obviously, that's something that is not really addressed in the normal, not only in the SRD, but in 5th edition in general is kind of... Xanathars, they expanded on it, though, didn't they?
Expanded, but it still falls short compared to what was the default option in 3.5.
Yeah. And I think Solasta did it really, really well. They even have in-between potions. Like, what's the potion that's like a D8?
I forget.
But they have, instead of like the traditional, which is 2d4 plus 2,
Yep.
excuse me, it's just a d8.
Yep.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
That's the third one up, yeah.
Yep.
Which is nice. Now that means your high end is the same, but your low end is much lower.
Yeah.
Which is a risk. What did you like about the crafting system?
It does give you some additional options, and now, generally speaking, I always find crafting options to be hit and miss in games in general, but
yes.
And it does.
Final Fantasy 14 nailed it though.
Yeah. And honestly, it does require you to micromanage what agreements you have gathered and so on and so forth, and keep track of all that. Which
and some people don't like that.
Which I get completely. I'll admit, to a degree, I'm kind of one of those people. Like, I feel like if you want to use a crafting system, you have to go out of your way to do it. But it's not an instant process. You have to say start crafting, and then once the game hours go by, they finish. Yeah.
So yeah, time matters. You know what you do?
Yep.
Step outside the town and then walk back.
You're not wrong.
That's how I beat it a couple times.
Or a quick short rest 12 times.
Yep, that works too. Whatever you got to do. So what did Solasta do poorly? Now, as with any video game, there's going to be limitations from the tabletop.
And sometimes there's just some occasional jank that's just going to pop up. And unfortunately, we kind of mentioned some of it already.
Yep. So despite the amazing job Tactical Adventures did, there's a few things that I thought were failures. Maybe they're programming errors. Maybe they just don't know. Maybe this will be the first time I'm hearing about it. I don't know, but
or in some cases of like small devs, maybe they just didn't have the time.
That's also true because it was a Kickstarter project, right?
Yeah.
So, dude, what the hell? Why isn't there no grapple? Like, you don't need to have my character up on time wrangling the person. Just give them a grapple condition. Anything. Like, I was so surprised by that.
To be fair, though, you do have shove. Most games don't even have that.
Yes, but shove you mostly use when you can grapple them. With the verticality, the shove is a huge one.
No, you guys haven't realized it yet. Grapple is like his
It's very potent.
primary skill that he loves.
Guess what it does? makes your speed 0. You know what else it does? Keeps that guy from killing any of your party.
Do you know what else it does? If the speed's 0, you knock them prone, they can't
They
get
can't
back
get up. And then you just stomp their face in. I love it.
until they break the grapple, but hey.
So, which that actually reminds me, something that I mentioned the comparison between Baldur's Gate and Solasta. Last time I played Baldur's Gate, there was no readied action. There's a readied action in Solasta, so kudos to them for that too.
And there's been times where the results have been hilarious in some of my gameplay. Oh, the zombies are outside of my range. Ready the action!
And just wait for them to wander into your death blades.
Thunk.
Yeah.
It is worth mentioning though that if you're reading action, especially with cantrips, that it will do it. Pick a random cantrip unless you say make this the default ready cantrip.
I didn't know I could do that.
Yeah. If you when you click like ready actions, it's the side menu that's admittedly fairly. It's there, but I can see how most people can miss it.
All right, Brandon. There's another issue that the game has that's very noticeable. Do you want to tell us about it?
Tremor Sense, Blind Sense, and True Sight seem to be pretty worthless.
Yeah.
Now it could be just be your gameplay experience too, to be fair. But
yes. And I don't have all the DLC or anything, so it could be a bug in my game.
Whereas I'm the jackwagon who bought the DLC but didn't actually use it to review.
Anyways, continue.
With
Brandon.
True Sight, sometimes enemies still spawn and you get ambushed anyway.
That pisses me off.
that
Why
sounds
do
like
I
a
have
horrible
True
thing.
Sight to know where everything's at if I'm still going to get ambushed?
Yeah.
With Tremor Sense and Blind Sense, they seem to act the same way as Superior Dark Vision. So you should be able to see walking creature in a fog and darkness without any problems. This is not the case.
Yeah.
I feel like that might be a coding issue. Who knows?
It might be. Like, when I'm a big fan of fog.
Yeah.
I love blinding my enemies. True Sense, or True Sight, I should see everything.
Or maybe people get True Sight wrong.
Don't you dare.
How's True Sight supposed to work?
I don't have the rules for that.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm going to stab you.
No, I'm just saying that we did touch on the fact that the game does probably implement rules that people forget about. That made me go, oh, this is how that works.
I think. So, to me, that was kind of annoyance, but you're right. Maybe that's just my game. Maybe it's bugged. I don't know. But I should be able to fight in darkness with Blind Sense and with True Sight and kick people's butts.
Yeah.
Personally, I think. All right.
Okay, and yeah.
There's one last one, and I think you mentioned slightly on one of the things that irritated me about it.
Yeah.
You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, some of the side quests here and there seem like they were added perhaps after the fact, like an afterthought. Now, that's just not a bad thing per se. It's just a possible observation. And to be fair, I can see how they could focus on the main quest first and then start adding in stuff.
And once again, a small dev team, you would expect that, right?
Yeah.
But they're not tied cohesively, I think. But I guess that's how most D&D games are.
And just to make it clear, we by no means think this is a bad game. Not at all. Shoot, we are actually devoting an entire episode to it to talk about it. That should tell you something.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Yes, I absolutely loved it. It really does a good job of scratching that D&D itch. You get the character building part, which is fun. You get to see different backgrounds and stories and stuff beyond just the tabletop setting.
Yep. And we do think it is a fairly solid 5e style experience. I stress style, of course, for obvious reasons.
Yes.
Because not everything's there. And we mostly mention that just so people temper their expectations going into it. Yeah. Because I'm not going to lie, my reaction was, where's all this? This, and this. Why can't I do this? Like how since Variant Human's not in the SRD?
Yes, it's not. So it's not there. Because they can't use the IP because it's not been certified.
Yeah. And therefore they can't choose the option to pick a feat at first level.
Yep.
God damn it, Garwin.
What?
He explained True Sight completely. You can't see through fog because it's a physical object.
Hey, you shut your mouth!
Yeah, it's smart. It's like, yeah, good, that makes sense. So,
what about Blind Sense? Huh?
He directed that comment right at you.
Yeah, right, whatever.
Yep.
What about Blind Sense?
Yep, True Sight, you can see out of a specific range, see in normal magical darkness, you can see invisible creatures and objects, illusions, automatically detect illusions, succeed on something throws against them, perceive original
Darwin,
forms
I think
of
you
shape
need to go to
changers.
bed, like right now. I don't need to be corrected anymore.
Inconsistent you're
Why
playing.
does this work?
Anyway,
That I didn't know.
ruined,
That you could see
ruined
the
me.
original form of a shape changer. Does that mean that there was a dragon polymorph to a person? You can just see this giant dragon like kind of like walking through the street.
Or just
Like, does no one see this?
I don't know. Reminds me of Hollows in Bleach,
Or
where
just-
they're like stomping through town and nobody can see them.
or you just see their aura.
Ooh, I like that.
That just lets you know they're
Reveals
dragon
it.
because I mean dragons do change your size, so
Yeah. So the last thing I want to touch on, Brandon, as somebody who hasn't played this game yet, what do you think? How does it sound to you?
It sounds a lot of fun. I've been looking for a good D&D game, video game to play. I tried doing an Neverwinter Dragon Hunter.
No.
That one's out. It's not. That's
Fourth,
fun.
it follows 4th edition rules.
Yeah, I don't like it very much.
great. Now I'll play Neverwinter Nights again,
Neverwinter Nights is good.
which is based on
I haven't
3.5.
tried that one, but
It's a hold though.
I want to give this a shot. I'll have to wait till I get paid, but
Yeah, well, you should. It's a good game, and it's got so many hours of play. And like I said, it you know what we didn't talk about? The introduction of characters.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they nailed it. So your characters are meeting a guy in the beginning
In a tavern.
in a tavern, and then they talk
of course.
about how they got there. And so you go play that story out with that one character.
Which also doubles as a tutorial.
Yes, it was awesome. Kudos to that team. And you got the traditional tavern entrance. You got the individual backstories of each of the characters without it being a wall of text, which I loved. And you learned the game as you went. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, well,
The,
Trump. Oh yeah, well, on my way here, I got ambushed by wolves. Then you fight the wolf combat.
Yes.
how big is the map?
Depends.
Depends on where you're at. Some of them are pretty large. Some of them are pretty tight.
Does it have
Quarters.
an actual storyline, or is this just kind of?
There actually is an
culture?
actual
There's a
storyline.
storyline. It's a D&D game. It still has a storyline.
And there
You can't just choose to snipe and crawl up on
Yeah.
something that's not programmed
Okay.
to start there.
And there is as we mentioned earlier too, a DLC campaign,
Mhm.
which, well, it's a full campaign, and they give you more archetypes, more spell options to choose from.
Yeah. All right. I'm really excited I really want to go play this again. If I ever find time, I will do that. I really enjoyed it. Kudos to the Tactical Adventures team. I cannot wait to see what else you come up with. If you feel the need to sponsor an episode, just reach out. You can find us at critacademy@gmail.com.
Yeah, we'll talk more about your.
I can talk about this forever. All right. So before we move on to our Unearthed tips and tricks, I want to take a minute to promote our own product, our Memorable Monsters.
It's good.
If you haven't picked up our Memorable Monsters, it is a collection of very well-defined monsters and NPCs with fully fleshed out backstories, fun stat blocks, beautiful artwork, a variety of ways you can use the NPC or monster without it just being the villain, which is really, really fun. We have some of the best writers in the RPG community that helped write this.
Yep.
And on top of that, it is already a bestseller.
Okay. And every single NPC in here can be a friend, enemy, quest giver, and so forth.
Yes, we give you so many different ways to use them.
And we do provide stat blocks for them for 5th edition, but that does not mean you can't use them in other RPGs.
That's a really good point because most of the text isn't a stat block.
Nope.
There's a lot of very system agnostic details. So if you could grab the general idea of the monster and apply it to something in any other fantasy setting.
I mean, I think for a few of these, we just did what we did when we do our master variants, took an existing stat block and made the changes accordingly. So,
Yep. Give them new functions, new abilities, keeping them within the levels. So,
like the skeleton I built, for example, I'm like, okay, I was told to make a CR2 creature, so, okay, what does a CR2 creature do that I want? All right, that'll work. Add this feature, get rid of that one, boom.
and then write a bunch of awesome text to go with it.
Yeah.
I remember, like, during the discussion, like, why doesn't your skeleton guy have undead resilience? Because skeletons don't have undead resilience, zombies do.
Yeah, I felt like such a schmuck when I said that. All right.
I was like, I actually knew what I was doing.
If you'd like to support the show or you'd like to add memorable moments to your stories and campaigns, consider picking up the book at our website. Head over to rebrand.ly/memorable monsters. It helps improve the show, and our wallets will thank you. All right, moving on to our Unearthed tips and tricks segment.
And now, what you've all been waiting for, our Unearthed Tips and Tricks segment.
where we bring you new and reusable material for both players and DMs.
A little more. All right, welcome back. Today's monster variant is the Sunweaver.
Too much scrolling.
There
we go.
The Badlands Sunweaver. The origin is going to be the stat block of the spy, but we're going to lose the hand crossbow and the multi-attack. And the creature type is going to become undead. This is really important because we want our Badlands Sunweaver, which Badlands is a reference to a lot of some of the monsters in Solasta who are in
The Badlands.
Yeah. See how I tied that in? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to give our Badlands Sunweaver, which very much looks like a ninja wielding mummy. If you haven't seen the artwork.
Ninja. So it's holding up ninjas in both hands?
Ninja wield mummy?
Oh my god.
That's exactly what I thought.
Yes,
The mummy
okay,
with two
no,
ninjas in his
a
hand.
ninja blade wielding mummy. And it's a lot of fun. It's fitting the theme for our adventures for our patrons. We're going to give it the undead stat block that I was told skeletons don't have, which basically means it's going to have undead fortitude.
Yep.
So if it gets hit, it has a chance to drop to 1 hit point instead of dying, which is super great. I've got a really...
It's super hilarious when the last time he keeps making it saved over and over again when the party keeps trying to kill it.
Yes. That's hilarious, by the way. And I also have a fun reference, so plus 10 cool points to somebody that gets where this comes from. The main feature we're going to give it is the strength of 𝗁.
Ah, okay.
Anyone?
Yeah.
Sun
Where?
God.
Captain Marvel?
No.
AKA Shazam?
No.
It's the sun god of
Yes.
Egyptian god.
It's from an old cartoon called Mummies Alive.
God.
They come out of their tombs and they say with the strength of 𝗁, and they're basically Power Rangers. They get like armor and stuff. Anyways, so I'm such a dork.
Yes.
That was old school.
Yeah, as a bonus action, the Sunweaver can call upon the power of the god of 𝗁, bestowing upon it divine speed, agility, and focus. This lasts for up to 1 minute, and it ends early if the creature's incapacitated, dons armor or a shield, or ends whenever it wants to.
Great, nothing about Money Max.
Oh, Thomas got it, and so did Dulcinea.
Yep.
Oh no, she just said it was Mummy series. All right.
Nothing about Mighty Max, which is also a.
I love Mighty Max.
That show got pretty dark for a kid's show, but that's why I loved it.
It was really good. What was
when the villain's voiced by Tim Curry is named Skullmaster and does threaten to outright kill the main character on multiple occasions, just like yes, I say kill.
Oh, okay.
So. When he imbues himself with the strength of 𝗁, he gains an AC. He gains a bonus to their AC equal to the Wisdom modifier. The speed increases by 15 feet. It gains advantage on Dex, acrobatics, checks, and saving throws, and it gains a bonus to Constitution saving throws. To maintain concentration on spells equal to its Wisdom bonus.
I think Biker Mike's from Mars actually did get rebooted once or twice.
What's that?
Biker Mike's from Mars.
Did it really get rebooted?
But we didn't care because we didn't watch kids shows because we're adults.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes.
So on top of this, this feature can't be used again until it finishes short or long rest. We're also going to change its spellcasting.
Yep.
We're gonna give it spellcasting charisma.
Yeah.
DC 14. We're gonna give it dancing lights, sacred flame, light. You can choose one or the other. I guess you don't need both. Flaming sphere, misty step, and sunlight. Are you sensing a theme?
Oh, now you're making me think of one of the shortcomings that Solasta had all over again.
Fire.
Well, my wizard and my cleric, they both use like the summon weapon as well as the flaming sphere.
Uh-huh.
You can either move it, or you can tell it to attack something, and it'll move to the closest space automatically. You can't do one then the other.
One or the other.
Which actually ended up delivering crap out of me. Because no, I wanted to move right here, especially the flaming sphere, so I don't, light my own guys on fire.
You just walk right through them. But anyways, the theme is obviously light. 𝗁 is the sun god.
Yeah.
So he literally conjures a small sun.
Yep.
And then we're going to give it a reaction called Blinding Riposte. Whenever a creature makes a melee attack against him and misses, it can use its reaction to make a attack. The Sunweaver makes a melee attack against a creature that missed it with a melee attack. I got that part right.
Yeah.
If the attack scores a critical hit, the weapon summons a burst of light, and the target must also succeed a con save or be blinded until the end of the target's next turn. What do you guys think about my Strength of Raw Sunweaver guy here?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of now low-key disappointed it's not just a big guy holding a tiny ninja.
I say one thing wrong and it's like left over top of me for like ever.
As a fan of Egyptian gods, I really like this character.
Yep.
It's so pretty. Its abilities, the abilities to use sunlight to blind, using the power of the sun, it's so cool.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Once again, it's thematic for the maps you've been writing for our patrons, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. All right, Brandon, would you like to tell us about our very short encounter?
Our extremely short encounter is the hunt for Haniesa.
Haniesa, sure.
Haniesa, yeah, submitted by Jackie L.
Thank you for the submission.
Yep.
An elven lady named Indiris seeks a company of adventurers to hunt down and capture the remorseless killer Haniesa.
The catch though.
Moreover, the party must complete the quest without killing anyone.
Ow.
What?
What do you guys think about this?
Wait, you want us to bring them in alive?
It's impossible.
That's not how D&D works at all. I really like this because you don't see it that often, right?
Yep.
It's usually take their head or bring them in alive, and nobody ever brings them in alive.
Wait, why do you want us to bring them? Wait, why do you want us to bring them in alive? So we can put them on trial and then execute them when we find them guilty. What's the difference at that point?
We can just do it for you.
This is a great encounter for if your players are a bunch of murder hobos.
So
It's like, that's what you can do today.
Now it made me flash back to an adventure which I was kind of low-key miffed at when we had to chase down a enemy VIP, then fell off 5 feet from a minecart, took fall damage and died. I was like, really?
We almost got him.
Well, you just stumbled across the point I want to make, because the goal isn't just to get the character, but it's to get them back.
Oh,
Yeah.
And that, I think, is
and then
where
you got
the
a bunch of
adventure...
assassins trying to get him. That's really cool.
Yes, so this person, you have to go and escort them, or maybe they are bad, but you can't let them die because they're critical in some sort of other investigation and they have information that's needed. But there's other people that have been hired, another group of adventurers that have been hired to take that person out.
Or maybe they have their own gang or trying to hunt you down in the process.
Oof, I love it.
Yeah. Let me make it clear. We have you. We were told to bring you back alive. Yeah, and we never said how many pieces you had to be in.
Yeah, right? Smash their hand, you're still alive. Piss me off again and see what happens to your foot.
You can still manage to cut your arm off and cauterize the wound.
Right. But there's going to be consequences for that, right? So even if you bring them back alive with broken limbs, you're still going to have to well, this person was critical and now may not talk because you beat the crap out of them. You know?
We didn't do that.
That's what the clerk's for.
Right? We'll heal you when we get there. Oh man, once you have regeneration, the torture level just goes up. Oh lord.
You learn
Why
a lot
is that?
about your players and their
The
morals
type of people,
in this
their
game.
morality, yeah.
Quick, cut his toes off one by one. Where did you come up with that?
To make sure they listen. All right, that'll do it for our encounter. Thank you, Jackie L, for submitting it. Our magic item of the podcast is the Arcane Shieldstaff.
Now, it is a staff, obviously, which is rare, and it requires attunement by a spellcaster. And it does fun things. First off, when you hold the staff, you gain a +1 to your AC.
Woo, yeah!
That's something any character can appreciate. That's definitely something spellcasters can appreciate.
Don't kill me.
And the staff also has 10 charges. And when you hold it, you can expend one or more of its charges to cast the following spells. Mage Armor, as it fits the name. Shield of Faith, also fits the name. Shield! Haha! And Fire Shield. Oh, well, you know.
Another shield. Justin, it's a strange theme.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, you're going to love this.
Yes, it has 10 charges and regains 1d6 plus 4 charges daily at dawn. Now, if you expend the last charge, you roll a d20. And if you roll a 1, the staff explodes in a burst of light, and casting globe of invulnerability and is destroyed.
Oh my god!
Is that
I've never seen
awesome?
a magic item that grants a huge benefit but then gets destroyed.
Because a lot of them, they get destroyed and that's it.
Actually, in older editions, that's actually how it used to be the case.
Does it look like we're talking about older editions? You got to stop hanging out in the Discord chat.
No. No, I mean, for second editions, if you destroy magic items, they exploded.
Yeah. Well, this one explodes and grants you a huge benefit. So it really, you run the risk, as the player, when you identify this, you know that it does that. So when it's destroyed, are you encouraged to do that? Are you encouraged to try to burst out all these every fight and expend all its charges, hoping you're going to get that one big one? I think Global Vulnerability is like a 6-level spell, right?
Something like that.
So it's a powerful spell.
I didn't know Fire Shield was a thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think usually Warlocks have it, don't they?
I mean, no one picks it, so.
That and the fact that Fire Shield has 2 separate abilities.
Well, yeah, it makes you resistant to cold damage, right?
It makes you resistant to cold, or you can do a chill shield from it and makes you resistant to fire. That's pretty
All right.
cool.
So what do you guys think about this this magic item?
I love the fact that it says that he has to be attuned by a magic user.
Well, yeah, I don't want the barbarian running around with mage armor or some other benefit, like, shield, because that's supposed to be their weakness. You're supposed to be able to hit them.
Oh, I like it.
All right. That'll do it for our magic item. And you can find this in our show notes, and you can pick it up and toss it into your game. If you really enjoy it, please do. Brandon, would you like to tell about our Dungeon Master
Our Dungeon
tip?
Master
I love this
tip
one.
of the podcast is sun and creatures as a time tracker.
Staff becomes consumable. That's great.
Yeah.
In many role-playing games, we are constantly informed on the different tools used to set the scene, using great narration. But for some reason, when the passage of time is covered, it's not given as much importance. That's never talked about. It's like, what time is it? It's like, I don't know, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
Now, is it now? It's been an hour.
Now, we do warn you in advance, don't yell at random time, because that could create a domino effect of making things just not make any sense. Which is probably why we ended up in Night Saturday game going to a theater that had a midnight show.
That's okay. Those are the best kind of shows. The ones that are after hours.
So what we mean by that
Wow.
is that mostly it comes in words like it's early morning or midday or, even a very specific time. Yes. We can significantly improve our world building and narrative into the passage of time by using some easy but specific details for reference. In this case, we are talking about the sun and the creatures that inhabit the world.
Yeah. Now, let's consider that using it in
kinda
this way
smart.
to describe the time of passing is extremely simple. That's one of the benefits. And is more narrative than just relying on a clock. And as you said, that doesn't set the scene. It's 2 o'clock. Well, what the hell does that mean? That 2 o'clock in the morning is different depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
Even in Alaska, where the sun never sets, it's still broad daylight. It's not going to tell you nothing, right? Your world may be similar. So instead of describing the clock, use describing the sun as overhead, casting almost no shadow, gives a good sense of time, right? And it makes it clear that the sun is straight up above them, basically.
I really like that. When you say, "Oh, your shadow's 20 feet long," it's like, yeah, that means it's almost
It's
sunset.
setting, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Or rising.
Ooh. 𝗕𝗂𝗂𝗀𝗃 says their DM changes enemies based on the time of day.
Oh, that is great. Going through the forest is much more dangerous at night, where all the big stompy nocturnal creatures start roaming. I like that. And I think we touch on that here too. It says so. This not only does it give a good sense of time, but it can impact on the characters and the potential story. A better example would be the characters attempting information gathering by eavesdropping on a conversation between two nobles, noting that the sun casts almost no shadow, as described above. So we might ask for a perception check or a similar check. After the check, you reveal that they overheard a brief details of some such, and they had been listening for so long now that the sun has dropped beneath the tree line and a long shadow is cast that stretches several feet. So without any other indicators, the players know that they've been eavesdropping for an extended period of time, right? Without having to say it. It's been about 5 hours. You've really set the scene and you've enhanced it even more than that. So to me, that's a much better descriptor. And the reason I brought this up is because this is something I'm trying to work towards, because I do that. Oh, it's afternoon. It's evening. That's not good enough. So now, not only does this deliver us a great tool for the pacing of the game, but it also gives us good details about the way the players, or another way that the players themselves can interact with the world.
Mm-hmm. And you can expand on this further by including creatures, as we already firmly established, at specific times. And
Good point.
bastards. No, that's the fact that you spelled it wrong.
Hey,
One
listen
example-
here with roasters, all right?
You can do this with a rooster, which got cockadoodles at early hours of the morning. Cockadoodle! Cockadoodle burn! Oh, a roaster is a barbecued rooster.
I'll take it. Hey, I'm a great writer, but I'm a terrible speller and grammar. That's why we got editors.
Yeah. For our actual release products, yes.
Yes.
And this means you're dealing with bats at night, or wolves. Now I'm thinking about the time where one party mocked me for constantly sleeping in trees during a long rest until I got ambushed by wolves. So I'm like, who's rapping now, suckers?
So that's a really good example
That's just
because
bullshit. I was sleeping on the ground. I still got janked by something in the trees. I got eaten by a iguana or something. Remember? I was just sitting there and his tongue went. I was like,
that was from one of Jeff Stevens' books. It was we talked about it on the show. I can't remember his name. Mr. Tongue or something like that. It's basically a giant tongue monster. But anyways, what do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I remember that. Good tip.
I like this idea because I'm always doing the whole, it's just afternoon. Like I was saying, what time is it? It's like, I don't know, it's 3 o'clock. Trying to figure out the daytime.
Yeah, I do that, and I'm not super
But I think using the
impressed with
sun,
myself.
it's like, what time of day is it? It was like, well, you hear a lot of birds chirping right now. When do birds chirp the most?
Morning.
In the morning. That makes sense. I like that.
And so the better thing about this is you can use it to introduce mundane, unique creatures to your world. If you've got a specially named bird that is only in this region, you can narrate that as, instead of the roosters crowing in the morning, I need a made up bird name.
Cockatrice.
That's not a made up name.
That's what I'm saying. I catch rice.
That's not a made up name. I want a made up name. Never mind.
A shakalaka.
A shakalaka is whistling in the air as it does every morning or something. I don't know.
All names are made
What's a shakalaka sound like?
You piss me off sometimes.
Come on.
He said what?
Come on, DM. What's a shakalaka sound like?
Shakalaka! All right. 𝗕𝗂𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗃. I like that. Nice
Goddamn.
one, Dulcinea.
Yeah, I love
Ooh, this is really good. Dulcinea says another hour indicator is bakeries start their shifts really early, so morning hours might have the smell of bread in the air. That's what I'm talking about. That right there. That is the world building that you get from not relying on a time of day. The smell of booze in the air might...
even at night, the smell of alcohol and
Mhm.
meat.
Yeah.
Like that usually happens at nighttime.
Maybe it's a special. Maybe the small, sweet smell of bourbon toe ale is wafting down the thoroughfare. That's something that only comes out when the place is really busy, right?
Oh, you can even use this stuff to indicate like times of year.
Oh yes.
Like when it's starting to shift to fall, it's like, you're starting to smell the I don't know how to describe the smell of turning leaves.
You could just say the smell
it's
of
such
the
a lovely
turning
smell.
autumn leaves is
The
fresh
air
in
is
the air.
filled with autumn leaves and pumpkin spice, and there's white girls everywhere.
All right, that'll do it for our Dungeon Master tip. Our player tip of the podcast is don't be a dick. And you can avoid dickitude by listening to Brandon talk about shocking containment.
Yeah.
Shocking containment.
You guys are going to love and hate this.
The net weapon is hands down considered terrible.
Quotes.
Weapon.
It's definitely
Weapon is in quotes.
situational.
The net is a special thrown weapon with no damage and ridiculously short range. Really? That's
Yes,
it?
5 feet or
Up to
15
5
at
feet
disadvantage.
or 15 at disadvantage. That's pretty bad. Though it does apply restrained conditions.
Mhm.
The restrained condition, which is really good. But the low AC and HP, lack of damage, and low strength check needed to break it makes it extremely unappealing most of the time. If it's so unappealing, then how come the barbarian couldn't get out of it like 3 times in a row?
That was just bad. Tell him, Garland says, tell that to the barbarian.
Because the dice roll sucked. That's
It was
why.
so funny. I got into a disagreement with somebody on Facebook about how worthless it was. Like, dude, go watch this match. You will rethink what you think of nets forever. But anyway, sometimes the roll's just not in your favor. Do you want to
Yeah.
expand?
Anytime I try to cast Sacred Flame in Solasta.
I feel you.
Yeah. But I blame wizards for that one.
Poor design.
Yeah. Anyway, what if we use on a creature that doesn't do slashing damage? Well, then that removes one concern.
It's one of the weaknesses.
Yep. By picking up the sharpshooter feat, we can make our normal range 15 feet, dealing with the second issue.
Yes.
There isn't much we can do about the low AC, though the fact that the net imposes disadvantage on attacks by the target does help negate this somewhat, which is one of the things that screwed the barbarian over.
Yes, because he didn't have a slashing weapon either.
No. I think he did, but because you have disadvantage when you attack, he kept him in the net.
Yeah, because he tried to break free and failed, and then tried to cut it and failed.
Yep.
That was just brilliant.
Yep. And then there is the damage problem. Well, that's where the lightning arrow spell comes in.
You guys are gonna love this. Did you know
Lightning arrow, really?
that the lightning arrow doesn't have to be an arrow?
Nope.
The spell doesn't require you to use an arrow. It says, what is this, like a 4th level, 3rd level spell? I don't remember. 3rd level. I think it's 3rd level.
Lightning arrow?
It says the next time you make a ranged weapon attack during the spell's duration, the weapon's ammunition or the weapon itself, if it is a thrown weapon, which
Holy
our
shit.
net is, transforms into a bolt of lightning. Loud thunderstrike, right? Boom. Not only does the lightning arrow turn the net into a solid 4d8 lightning damage, but it also restrains the target.
Yeah.
But there's more.
Much more.
And each creature within 10 feet must also succeed on a dexterity saving throw or take an additional 2d8 lightning damage. Since the net restrains the target, now they have disadvantage on that save that they have to make themselves. Then the net now turns back into a regular net and they are restrained. Now, the target is restrained with a movement of 0. Attack rolls against it have advantage. It has disadvantage on attack rolls and on dexterity saves. This is an absolutely brutal combo, you guys, with one of the weakest quote-unquote weapons in the game.
And if you really want to get creative and really go F that guy, you can also drop the grease spell to drop them prone.
Oh my goodness.
And should your net get destroyed, the mini cantrip can fix it.
Oh, what the
Yes. Mend that baby back up. And there's a feat to make sure you can get that, right?
Yeah.
So 𝗕𝗂𝗂𝗃 just says, I'm a new DM. Do I have any tips? Yes. Once you're done watching this episode, watch the one we recorded last week and the previous week, because every week we give new Dungeon Master tips, player tips, and overall guidance and inspiration to our listeners. So please check it out. One thing I will give you one bonus DM tip. When you're running Dungeons & Dragons for the first time, spend less time in the rulebook and more time playing the game.
Keep it simple.
Yes, and just learn as you go, because I promise if you spend time scrolling through that book, everyone's going to be bored out of their mind.
And random generation tables can help speed up
Yes,
the process.
definitely.
Everything you need is here.
So, anyways, what do you guys think about this combo? A lightning net?
You made a taser.
I did. That's better than a taser.
You made a net taser.
A net taser. Would you guys use this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Use it on your players and watch them cry.
You know what's funny is the Dungeons and Diapers party that we're having.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to use a lot of your shit on you.
Good. I told you earlier,
That
I'm
means
a
you pay
terrible
attention
D&D
and listen.
player. I'm a good role player. I'm a terrible combat player. All right, so
And then
She's not gonna know what's coming.
I hope it's going to be an 8-hour session. I hope you're going to
I'm not going to. I'm going to have a sleep. I'm going to be up all night in a lock-in the night before. And then I'm going to go to your thing. I am going to be worn out. Dead. to the world. So I'm just going to pick a champion fighter where I just say I attack. All right. That'll do it for our player tip of the podcast. Don't be a dick. And you can avoid dickitude
By being a dick.
by being a dick. Remember, this player tip applies both to DMs as it does to players.
Yep.
So just keep that in mind. But I'll tell you what, they'll rethink how lightning arrow works once you use it against them. All right.
Sand.
If you enjoy the show and you'd like to support us, please visit us at critacademy.com. Follow us on social media. Leave us a review, all that jazz. I do want to take a quick moment to let you guys know we have we're planning a Kickstarter, and I'm looking for some feedback on weapon perks. Or exotic weapons I've been designing.
And people have opinions.
And people have opinions. So please swing over to our social media and share your thoughts. Also, make sure to sign up for our newsletter and get free Dungeons & Dragons loot. Just for signing up, receive a free copy of our bestseller, Fantastic Feats. Receive a free resource guide that includes not only our favorite finds, but some custom resources we've created as well. And you will also be entered to win prizes on the show. Isn't that awesome?
It's always awesome. Getting free shit's always awesome.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to fill up their dragon's hoard, right?
Yep.
All right. Do you guys have anything else?
Not today.
All right. Well,
I do gotta say, before we go, did you ever see that thing I tagged you in on Facebook?
no.
No, someone had asked, "Hey, is there a katana in D&D?" And I was like, "There's gonna be."
Yes, it's called a longsword.
That's exactly
That's
what
what
I got
That's
for
what
so
everyone,
many
everyone keeps
responses.
saying.
I was like,
That's a longsword. It's longsword. No.
if it's the same thing, then why does everyone complain about it? I only added it because I was tired of seeing people complain about it. It's the only reason.
Because no matter what you do, there's always people who will complain.
Yeah. But anyways, exotic weapon perks. We're going to have exotic weapons and armor perks and everything. And I'm always looking for feedback. So just keep an eye out and even go comment on the ones I've already posted.
Yep.
All right. That'll do it. I'm your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Ian.
I'm your co-host, Brandon. Thanks for listening.
Keep your blade sharp and spells prepared, heroes. We'll see you guys later.